All right, so we'll get started tonight. So we're talking to Tegan, who, like I said, is a rapid transformational therapist, and we're going to be talking about how this amazing therapy can help you shift weight, and as well as a lot of other things that it can do. So first off, Tegan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background? Who you are.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on the call tonight, Fee. So a little bit about me. I qualified as a yoga teacher 18 years ago, and then I ended up training as a coach with a really strong foundation in somatic psychotherapy. And I worked with people who suffered from anxiety and depression for many years, becoming quite frustrated with how slowly clients were getting results, even though I got great results with my clients. I actually developed this really unique approach where I combine yoga therapy and mindful techniques and somatic psychotherapy to really help people shift on a profound level. But when I came back to New Zealand in 2015, I was looking for something else. And this is where I found out about Marissa Peer's work in RTT, or Rapid Transformational Therapy. And I looked into it, and I was so impressed with what she was doing that I trained to be a rapid transformational therapist. And then I went on to do my clinical hypnotherapy.
And so you switched at some point then. So what made you do that switch completely? Because this is what you do now, isn't it? This is what you do rather than all the other skills that you have.
Yeah, so even though I've got many years of experience in psychotherapy, this work is so powerful because it uses hypnotherapy. It creates powerful change in a really short period of time. And I think people really don't want to be in therapy now for weeks at a time and paying big money in order to do that. We want fast results. And so what I found with this approach is that it gets results for people often in only one session.
One session is amazing, yeah. So can you elaborate for those that have never ever heard of rapid transformational therapy? And to be brutally honest, everybody, I only heard about this last year and found out about Tegan, hence bringing her on tonight because I've been so impressed with what I have seen so far. So what is rapid transformational therapy? If you had to explain it to the people that have no idea about it, can you put it as easy as you can?
Sure. So it was developed by a very world-renowned hypnotherapist called Marissa Peer, who developed this approach that combines hypnotherapy or hypnosis with neuro-linguistic programming and cognitive behavioral programming. So she, over her 30 years of experience, noticed that there were certain things that were common with her clients. And she got such powerful results that she ended up developing this approach and decided to go out and teach other people. So it is based on hypnosis. And in the state of hypnosis, we have access to your subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is the part of the mind where all of our conditioning is, all of our beliefs, all of our memories, and our minds become programmed in the first 7 years of our life. What we actually do is we guide a client into the state of hypnosis, and then I ask the subconscious mind why, for example, they're holding on to weight, why they lose weight, put it back on again, and then the subconscious mind shows us where it has come from. So we use a form of regression, which is asking the subconscious to take a client back to scenes, places, events, or times to help us to understand the root cause and the reason why somebody's having a challenge in their life. And then I work with the client, I gather information with the client, and then we look at that information together. And it's always very, very clear to me at that point as to what limiting beliefs are in place that is stopping a client from moving forward or, say, losing weight. And it's always very clear to the client too.
Yeah.
And at that point, I then help them to reframe from the point of view of the child who's taken on the beliefs in the first place, or the teenager or wherever they got those beliefs, I help them to reinterpret the event. And then the last part of the session, I record a hypnosis recording that is based on what's come out of the session. And in that recording, I put powerful suggestions in that the client then listens to the recording for at least 21 days. And so it's incredibly powerful work.
Yeah. So I know that some people that I've spoken to are a bit like funny about hypnosis. They're worried about losing control or not having control of themselves. You're going to make them do or say things or get in their head, you know. So can you allay some of those fears for those of us that do not like to let other people in our head or lose control of ourselves?
Absolutely. And also because we see hypnotists on television make people flap like chickens and bark like dogs, a lot of people have this misperception is when I'm under hypnosis, I'm out of control. And the hypnotist or the hypnotherapist can make me do anything that they want me to do. And the second misperception is that I'm not going to remember anything. And
true, yeah.
Yeah, and both of those things are not true at all. Even those people who are flapping like chickens and barking like dogs, they are totally aware of what is happening. They are totally in control and they can stop it at any time. Thing is, they're choosing not to. So hypnosis is actually a really natural state. And Fee, I don't know whether you've ever driven a car and you've gotten to the other end, you've gotten to the end of your journey and you've been like, oh my goodness, I can't remember actually driving here.
Of course, yeah. Yeah. You're like, oh my gosh, I wasn't even paying attention, you know, you're worried that, yeah, but you ended up there, yeah.
Yeah, and that's because you've driven in the state of trance. You've driven in the state of hypnosis. Your subconscious mind has driven the car. When people daydream, they're in the state of hypnosis. Meditation is a state of hypnosis. People go into hypnosis when they're watching television. So hypnosis is actually any point where you go into a point between being awake and being asleep. When we're awake, we process everything through our conscious mind and our analytical mind. And when we're asleep, we process everything through our subconscious mind. And the state of hypnosis or the state of trance is a mid-state between the two. So your conscious mind is still here in the process, but with access to your subconscious mind. So in rapid transformational therapy, we drop beyond the conscious mind and we actually ask this part of the mind, what is going on? And the thing is, in ordinary therapy, we're only looking at things through the conscious mind, and this is why people don't tend to get results. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. So then for those that can, you know, now we're hypnotized, we're carrying excess weight, and we're going to combine the therapy in there. We've come to you because we're like, we want to lose the weight, and we know that we've got to eat well and we've got to move our bodies, but we don't know why we're holding on to it. So is that where the therapy is going to come into it? So they go into the hypnosis and then the therapy to find out the reason, is it, why they're holding on to the weight?
Absolutely, because as you've just mentioned, weight is so much more than just what we eat and exercise. Every single client I've worked with, there has been a role, function, and a purpose for the weight in their life. At some point when they were younger, they've either told the brain that I need to be big in order to protect myself. It might be that dad is abusing mum. Child might say, I wish I was bigger. Or or they may be bullied at school. I wish I was bigger. Or they may receive inappropriate sexual attention, and so they cover up with weight. The mind is incredibly powerful, and you see, what we tell the mind, it does. So we give the mind instructions. When we are really impressionable and really suggestible in those first 7 years, we set up all of this programming and our mind takes it on. The other thing that is associated with weight is associating food with pleasure and using food not to feel painful feelings.
Emotional eating, is that what we would describe as emotional eating? I'm an emotional eater. Is that what that comes in, or is that different?
No, emotional eating is definitely, there is a belief there. So just to put this into context, I had a client come to see me who, in regression, she went back to memories of being with her brothers, and her mother never gave her sweet treats. She always gave her brothers the sweets and the cakes and things that said, oh no, you can't have that because you're going to get fat. So she was just a child.
Wow.
Yeah. And her mother was projecting her own belief onto her daughter. This young girl, she didn't feel lovable. She picked up this belief that I'm unlovable because my brothers get the sugary things, the treats, the pleasurable things, but I don't. And she learned to associate those kinds of food with love and being enough. So what she ended up doing was hiding foods in her cupboard. So she would hide these sweet things and cakes and things, and she would sit in her closet and eat as a kid because that was how she felt that she was enough and lovable.
Yeah.
So as an adult, she didn't need to do that anymore, but because this had been programmed in her brain, but she wasn't consciously aware of it, whenever she got upset or stressed, she would go to the sweet things that she'd hidden in the cupboard and couldn't understand why she did it.
And isn't it funny that, you know, like I've met so many women who say, I've got no willpower, I really, really want to do it, but I just can't say no, you know, and they try and they try the latest diet and the latest thing where they maybe, you know, the keto is the latest thing, so they can't have sugar and they're trying to cut out the sugar, and they're like, but I get to a point and I just can't say no, you know, I've got no willpower, and then they feel judgment on themselves and they feel bad about themselves, when underneath it could be a story like this, which makes so much sense, isn't it? When you understand the underneath story, it makes perfect sense why as adults we do these behaviours that we don't want to be doing, but we do them anyway.
Yeah, because every habit of action is controlled by a habit of thought, and often that thought comes from the unconscious mind. And it's really important to understand that when the mind's job is to move us away from pain and towards pleasure. So if the brain learns and the mind learns at a very early age that, say, sweet things are pleasurable or feeling feelings is painful, then later on in life, your mind will still be running those old programs because it's trying to keep you safe. Ultimately, the brain's job and the mind's job is to keep us alive, to move us away from pain and to move us towards pleasure. So it's really interesting. Someone who's struggling with this and with weight, they may go to a cafe and there's a salad, but there's pizza.
Yeah.
The story that will happen is
pizza's my trigger food. I would already like tug me between the two.
this is the conversation that goes on in the head. Oh, I really want the pizza, but I should have the salad. Oh, I'd love to have the pizza, but I should have the salad. So already, whenever you say to the brain, I can't have something, it will turn up the desire. Okay? So this is what happens. It turns up the desire. So then you want the pizza more. So the way to deal with this is, because the mind does what we tell it to do, the way to pre-program the mind is actually say, I want the salad because it's going to make me feel good. I love the way that I feel when I'm in my slim clothes. I love feeling healthy. I love feeling fit. I'm choosing the salad. I'm not choosing the pizza. I am choosing to do this. And of course, the brain will then come on board because you've just told it what to do. It goes, sure, if that's what you want, then that is what I will give you. and then the desire for salad goes up. So it's quite fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, so that would be an example of one of the subconscious programming that you would put on to the recording, for example, with somebody that's worked with you. So they've cleared out the limiting beliefs underneath about themselves or around this issue, and that would be something that would go back in the recording. So you're reprogramming the brain to go, I love salad, or I love exercising, I love to go for long walks, I want to look after myself. And so your brain is telling you to do it. So you are going to then take the actions and become a human being, essentially, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
and one of the rules of the mind is that it will accept suggestions until new ones replace it. And so this is why this work is so powerful. We help the child to understand whatever it is that we need to help them to understand. Then we're already creating a new neurological pathway in the brain.
yeah.
But in this work, we are commanding the brain to switch it off. I don't want it anymore. It has no function, role, function, or purpose in my life anymore. Weight has no role, function, and purpose in my life anymore. And then I put new powerful suggestions in, such as you're indifferent to sugar, you love eating salad, the weight comes off you easily, effortlessly, and automatically. You don't even need to think about it. It just comes off you. I had a client who came to see me because she'd put on 25 kilos in 2 years, and she'd actually booked in to have gastric band surgery to get a gastric sleeve. And she decided to give this the one-ditch last effort. And so she went back to scenes of, one, her father, right from when she was a little girl, put her down and gave her a hard time for being big. So she had that weight shaming thing.
Yeah.
Second thing, she learned to use food to stuff down her feelings. So interestingly enough, 2 years ago when she started putting weight on, I said to her, oh, what happened 2 years ago? And she said, well, I broke up with my partner. So I knew, with her husband, I knew there was a clue there. The role, function, and purpose of the weight for her, or the eating, was to stop her from feeling, because she was taught that it was not okay to feel. Her father, her mother, whenever she tried to express herself, she got cut down. So after the session, she dropped 4 kilos within a week. Just like that. We rewired her subconscious mind. The last time I heard from her was 6 weeks after the session. She'd lost 11 kilos and had found love.
It's phenomenal, isn't it?
I love hearing these stories. It just, they just fascinate me. Another one of my clients used associated food with pleasure. Her mother was a tyrant, and the only time that she felt loved by her mother was when she was sitting in the kitchen and her mum was baking. So she learned to associate sugary foods and baking with pleasure and love. So she was, it was quite fascinating, because at the end of her session, she said to me, oh my goodness, I do the same thing with my kids. Whenever they're upset, I bake things for them. I give them sweet foods.
I've worked with somebody exactly the same. And it wasn't the mother that was a tyrant or anything like that, but the mother expressed her love with baking and home baking, and they would come home from school and it was always cakes and homemade biscuits and all of the sweet food. And so when she is feeling stressed or tired, her go-to was something sweet, and again passing it off to her children as well. And so working together, I was able to help her clear that and see that reason as well. We didn't do the RCT with you with that one, but we were able to move past that together with her so that she wasn't addicted to sugar. But it was the realization as well, which some people can do consciously, obviously, like in this case with her, but a lot of people can't necessarily get to the subconscious beliefs, which is actually interesting, everybody. I went to Tegan last year. I found out about Tegan and had my own session with Tegan, actually, in regards to procrastinating and fear of failure, fear of judgment, and needing to take action. And I can say, since like I saw Tegan, and then I had 6 weeks leading up to Christmas, which I took a few weeks off. I ended up getting more done for myself and my business than I dreamed doing all year, because my brain was telling me, go and do these things. I wanted to do it. I felt this drive to do it. And it was almost, I stopped listening to the recording over the break, because I knew that I wouldn't be able to relax, because all I wanted to do was go and work. But it's made me not have the physical sensations in the body, which we haven't discussed with you, but I noticed when I went into the therapy session with you, the hypnotherapy session with you, that you would ask about a memory, and then can you feel that in your body somewhere? And of course I did. Like, one of the memories was in my heart, one was in my chest, and one was in the pit of my stomach, like a really sick feeling. And then, so what Tegan did was she asked me, do you feel that in your day-to-day life? And I said, yeah, all the time. And she asked, when do you feel it? And so for me, when I was feeling overwhelmed that there was so much to do, or the kids were, busy with the kids, and I was trying to do stuff with work, and I'm trying to plan dinner, and I'm trying to keep the house clean, and I've got errands to run and school shit to remember, and all of these things, and I would freeze. It was like I was freezing. My chest was tight. It was the exact same feeling that I was experiencing in the session with Tegan. And I was just like, like my whole chest, and I would do nothing. And what would I do? I would procrastinate. I would go and do something that wasn't constructive to what I actually wanted to do as my goal. No, it's not in relation to weight loss, but I was doing things that were counterproductive to what I actually wanted to do, which is the same thing. I was choosing the pizza instead of the salad normally. So after the session, it was the weirdest thing. It was, I just wasn't getting this tight chest anymore. I wasn't feeling the sick feeling in my stomach when I was overwhelmed. I was having new thoughts in my head. It was, I'm just going to tell you guys this because it's quite amusing to me, that I would have my regular thought, which would be the procrastinating type of, do it kind of later thought. And it was almost like this, I describe it like a bowling ball of a new thought would come in, knock the other one out of the way, and I'd go, like, my conscious brain would go, where the heck did that come from? I don't think like this normally, but the bowling ball thought was supportive and made me go and take action, doing the stuff that I knew that I needed to do, and telling me that I am good enough, and it was the subconscious, the rewiring that was happening with the recording, and after the session, it was just the most phenomenal thing. And I was just so impressed with the changes in myself that I saw, that I spoke to a few of the clients that I've been working with about Tegan, and suggested maybe this is somebody for them, because I could see that they had their own limiting beliefs that needed to be worked through. So they came and saw Tegan. So what did you see after that, Tegan, with those few people? And what have we discussed after there? Yeah.
I think the foundation of what we both do, and what we're really passionate about, is helping women to really step into the full power of who they are, and to gain phenomenal self-confidence. And the coaching approach is just so powerful for that, being held by somebody for a series of weeks, and being supported and being inspired and motivated to create powerful change is a real gift. And so we decided that we had such a beautiful thing happening here between the two of us, that we created a 6-week program combining my work and Fiona's work.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm really passionate about as a woman is that we spend a huge amount of time, usually in our lives, either criticizing who we are, criticizing the way that we look, feeling guilty about what we eat, guilty about our bodies, hating on our bodies. And Fee and I are both really passionate about freeing women from all of that. I work with clients who have been obsessed with food, low self-esteem, I'm not good enough, I need to be this, I need to be that, sometimes into their 70s, and I think, wow, what a waste, because you're so amazing and you're so beautiful, and it's such an amazing thing for me, and I'm sure it is for you, Fee, to free somebody from all of that, because you've got more energy to actually live and enjoy your life.
Oh, absolutely. And so many times when I've been speaking to women, and when we come down to it and I ask them, what is this excess weight stopping you from doing? It's, what, or I put it another way, like, imagine you didn't have the excess weight, what would you be doing? And, time and again, people have said, oh, I'd be more creative. I would go and spend more time with my kids. I would run around after them. We would be more active. We would go out and we would do things. I would maybe start a business, or I would look for a new job, or I would feel confident enough to ask for a pay rise, or I would, travel more. And it's really sad, and it breaks my heart, because I used to be that person of you letting some kilograms on the scale, or your physical body, and that self-loathing, that self-criticism, stopping you from literally being that best person that you can be. And I know it sounds cheesy, the best version of you, but that is what it is, and that's what life is about. And if you can free yourself of that head space where you're constantly down on yourself, and you have that behavioral change on the outside where you are making supportive choices for yourself, and you can get rid of the weight, but not only that, you just change your head and your way of thinking and your way of being. It is the most freeing and amazing thing to go through. And I've done that with myself, and I know how crap it used to be, and I was that person, and it's just so nice to not criticize myself all day, every day, and be obsessed around what to eat, how much to move and exercise. And it's just what I do now. And so the clients that I've been working with as well, coach them with their behavioral changes to be, it's just what I do now. And your work combined is just so much more powerful. Book in a time for a breakthrough session. So you're going to learn a lot about yourself in this coaching session. So it is a free weight loss breakthrough coaching session, and everybody that I've spoken to on these coaching sessions before has big aha moments, and you end up leaving that session inspired and ready to make change in your life, with a clear direction about where you're headed, why you're headed, and what you can actually do now to get there.